Hey everyone, and welcome back to Token Talk. Now today, instead of talking about a token specifically, I wanted to go over the overall crypto market and Bitcoin specifically, just because we are starting to see some really crazy things happening that I do think could lead to some pretty ridiculous moves to the upside here towards the end of the year. And so anyway, I just want to talk about that, give us potentially a sneak peek of what's going to be happening, and spoiler alert, it could get really crazy. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting out, I want to take a look at crypto bubbles, because what we can see right now, obviously, is we've just seen massive jumps basically across the board. I mean, there's basically no reds in sight. The only reds I am seeing, I believe, are stable coins here and there. I guess Caspa is the only one that's like very minorly red, but again, you know, we've got huge moves to the upside here, which overall is really good. And you know, we've got smaller coins, but we even have even Ethereum is up just 5% right now. I think Bitcoin's up 4.9%. So, I mean, we've seen some pretty crazy moves to the upside, which is really exciting, because if we look at the Bitcoin chart, what we can see is there's actually a pretty nice gap that we've seen form on the upside over these past couple days. We obviously had broken out of this descending channel, but today we have seen kind of a pretty strong and sustained move to the upside. We have kind of run into this point of resistance. It would not surprise me if we saw this pull back just a little bit, but ultimately, things are looking really, really good. And if we kind of zoom out and look at this on a larger time scale, we've already passed kind of the most recent high before we kind of moved into a lower high down here. But we have seen this structure is fully broken, right? We were looking lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. But now we're looking at higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, all the way up. So we've now officially broken this downtrend, and we are moving in and we're forming an uptrend, which is exactly what we want to see, and which is really fantastic news. So we've broken this previous high, and then now we're kind of running up to this high up here. And as we can see, this is a point of resistance. We've faced it multiple times in the past, and it seems to me that breaking this point of resistance is very likely going to be pretty challenging to do prior to the US election. If I had to guess, just given the overall crypto industry's kind of favor, or I guess preference toward Donald Trump getting elected, if he were to get elected, I think that would be kind of the bullish momentum that we would need to kind of break through this level of resistance here, as well as honestly probably breaking a new all-time high. I think if we saw him get elected, it's very possible that we could see that kind of run all the way up through the previous all-time high, and then from there, I mean, who knows where it could stop, right? So that, things are looking really, really exciting. Overall, the market is looking pretty strong. One thing I will say, just, I always am trying to kind of think of the counterpoint and being the devil's advocate here. If this is kind of what's expected, and a lot of people are kind of hoping for this outcome, usually the market does not work in the ways that we want it to, and it usually moves towards inflicting the most pain on the most people. And so I do think that there is a slight, I don't think it's really I wouldn't call this the most likely outcome, but I do think there is a possibility in which if Trump does get elected, then maybe we see a move to the downside, and it's kind of like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. Again, I don't really know for sure, but this is an outcome that I'm somewhat prepared for. I wouldn't say I'm putting my money on it, but it is an outcome that I'm prepared for. So as you can see, I do a lot of my charting and things in MARGEX. As you can see, I've been tracking this for quite a long while at this point, and we can see that it's moved pretty well and kind of stayed well within what we've seen on MARGEX. If you are interested in doing some trading on MARGEX, please feel free to use the link in the description below. It'll allow you to go to MARGEX and get signed up. No KYC, no VPN required. Also, there's a $10,000 deposit bonus if that is something you're interested in. But you can trade things like Bitcoin up to 100x leverage. So it is nice. Obviously trading leverage does come with its risks, so just make sure that you are kind of aware of the risks and you're comfortable with what those are. And then from there, obviously just go ahead and get trading. Right now it is a little bit dangerous time to trade, but as you can see, if we end up continuing breaking to this upside, we could be seeing some pretty crazy gains, and playing that on leverage could be kind of nuts. So anyway, obviously not financial advice. Do make your own decisions, do all that type of stuff, but it could be a good opportunity. Just feel free to check that in the link in the description below. A couple other things I want to take a look at here. I've come back to this a couple of times in the recent past, just because open interest is kind of a way of gauging how many eyes are on crypto, or in this case Bitcoin specifically, and how many people are kind of really paying close attention to it. And what we can see is Bitcoin's actually hit a new all-time high of total open interest here. Now this is really, really good news, because this just shows that we have over $40 billion of open interest on Bitcoin, which means there's a lot more like institutional interest and essentially people with deeper pockets trying to get into the crypto space, which obviously is, is really, really good for those of us who are actually in the crypto space at this point. So what we can see here also is the CME not hitting all-time highs yet, but definitely kind of reaching back to what we saw here kind of about a week ago. That was kind of the previous all-time highs. Open interest definitely still climbing up. Things looking good overall for Bitcoin. We can see all-time highs are here, probably are not going to stop anytime soon. Things are looking, really, really strong from that perspective. Also, if we look, liquidations have gone up majorly, up 200% in the past 24 hours. I mean, this is probably mainly just due to shorts getting completely wrecked because we've seen such a strong move to the upside. And so, it would not surprise me if we start to see a move to the downside just as people pile on longs. That would probably be my guess. But again, I don't know for certain. Looking at the stock to flow though, what we can see, again, if we're zooming out, we can see that we've kind of moved from this like darker orange to like this brighter orange. And if we look historically, darker orange to brighter orange all the way on the way up. Dark orange to brighter orange almost on the start of the way up. Dark orange to brighter orange like almost exactly when it starts to move up. So I mean, we're hitting the point in time, at least per what the stock to flow model has to say, where we really start to see a pretty decent move to the upside. As we have seen in the past, we usually start at or below the line, and then we end up above the line. We can see here, depending on where we hit the line, we're anywhere between 140 and anywhere up to like $300,000 for a Bitcoin. So if we continue to follow the stock to flow model, I mean, we could be seeing a pretty nice penny for going per Bitcoin, which would be really, really nice. So the last thing I want to take a look at before we stop the video here is we can see kind of where we're at on the halving progress. And as we can see in 2012, 2013, we can see our first move up kind of already would have happened by now, but we do have that second move up that we will not have seen yet. Going into 2017, we'd kind of already sort of started to move up, but hadn't really seen anywhere near kind of some of the crazy gains that we see towards the end of the cycle. Same thing here with 2020. We can see, we've already started to move up and seen a decent bit of growth, but nothing crazy yet. I mean, that kind of comes here in the next couple months. And then here, obviously not a whole bunch of movement to the upside. We have started to see a little bit kind of a tick up here, but nothing, nothing towards the magnitude of this, or particularly this, of course. But I do think it's possible, there's probably one of two ways that this plays out. There's the 2020, 2021 model, where we're potentially essentially imminently going into a massive move to the upside, which I do think is a very real possibility. Or there might be kind of like the 2017 model, in which it's probably going to be about another year until we see the highs of Bitcoin. I think some of this depends on kind of how the economy ends up shaking out, how the election ends up shaking out, some of that type of stuff. But overall, I think we can all agree that Bitcoin's going to continue its move up. Global liquidity continues to increase. People are getting looser with their monetary policy. People are getting afraid. Inflation is continuing to rise. All this type of stuff is good for the long-term value of Bitcoin. So anyway, as far as I'm concerned, as long as we keep holding our Bitcoin and accumulating it at points that seem to make the most sense and are strategic, then I don't know that you can go too wrong. But again, not financial advice. You have to make your own decisions. But anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give us a like and subscribe. It really, really does help us out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, whatever, please just drop a comment in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of them. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that would be the best way to do it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.